Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today has bought and sold over 700 properties in 25 states and currently holds a robust rental portfolio of cash flowing properties. Starting in 2004, he took his knowledge of raising capital and the financial markets and started investing in real estate full time. Josh Cantwell is the founder of a number of successful businesses, including Freeland Ventures and the Strategic Real Estate Coach. Josh, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth. Thanks so much for having me, man. This is
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do is network with other, real estate entrepreneurs. And so this is something I've been looking forward to, man. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about you and your operation. So let's dive right into it and talk about your real estate goals right now. What are you looking to accomplish?
Yeah, thanks. So let me set the table, I guess, with where we're at today and give you and your audience some ideas where we're at. So right now today, I'm really focused on raising capital. I spend a large majority of my time raising money. We manage about $25 million of our own money and other investors' cash. And it started out just with my very first private lender all the way back in 2004, who it was actually my brother's mother-in-law, who I paid her 18% interest on her self-directed IRA to get my first $60,000 of private money. That's evolved over the years to the point now where we have a $100 million portfolio, both as a real estate private lender and hard money lender. So that's part of our portfolio. We have a bunch of cash flowing rental properties that we own for our own account. And then we also are an equity investor in some really large apartment buildings. I own 1,150 units of apartment buildings. And so that $100 million portfolio is about 25% or $25 million of cash. There's about $30 million of equity and profit in that for us and our investors and our operators that we work with. And there's about $50 million of debt financing. So that's where we're at today. Seth, I'm really focused on really two things. I love to coach real estate investors. I've got a passion for it. It's in my DNA. So I love to coach other people. We have a big coaching organization. And secondly, I love to raise money. So in this year, coming forward in 2019, our goal is to increase our assets under management from 100 million to 250 million, and to increase our cash position from 25 million to 50 million. So using some debt and investor partners, to a lot of it lending as a private lender, a hard money lender, certainly continuing to build our own residential and apartment portfolio, and then investing equity with really good multifamily and apartment operators who have great value add apartment deals, where they're buying them at a discount, they're buying them at wholesale, they're looking for equity partners to bring in cash for rehab or down payments or soft costs, holding costs. We're looking for great operators to bring in our money and our investors' money into those, and basically grow our portfolio by about 250%. So that's really what we're trying to do in 2019.
Nice. I love it. So at what point, because you've got a couple different offshoots with your business, what came first and how did you end up getting into those other different niches?
Yeah, great question, Seth. So like a lot of people, I kind of fell into real estate. It was something that I heard about. I was a financial advisor. I graduated from college in 1998 and actually got my licenses to be a financial planner while I was still in college. And right out of college, I loved to sell financial services products. I did that to 2004. But what I did was I noticed a lot of my financial planning clients, they didn't have all their money in the stock market. They owned apartments, they owned restaurants, they owned single family homes, they owned a lot of real estate. So I took notice as a young buck, a young 24-year-old. And I bought my first investment property when I was 24. I bought a 2-family. I actually lived in it. My mom thought I was nuts. She's like, you just graduated from college. You're starting a new career. You're on all commission and you're not a landlord. Like, what is wrong with you? My mom thought I was nuts, but I knew I was passionate for real estate all the way back then. This is, 15, 18 years ago. So it started then, and I really really thought that real estate was going to be the way to go. And so I went to a bunch of different seminars and boot camps like a lot of guys. Now, what happened in Cleveland, Seth, was Cleveland used to be a big city. It was at one point the fourth largest city in the country. And in early 2000s, we had a foreclosure crisis before everyone else experienced a foreclosure crisis. Everyone else started to feel the pain in 2008. Cleveland felt the pain in 2001, 2002, because we had 8 large Fortune 500 companies all leave the downtown Cleveland market. So all of a sudden, there was a ton of foreclosures and a ton of pre-foreclosures and short sales. And so I was doing direct-to-seller marketing. We were marketing bandit signs and direct mail and all kinds of, lumpy mail and all kinds of crazy stuff we were doing. And sure as heck, about 8 out of 10 leads we would get would be people who were over-leveraged, in foreclosure, house was worth 150 and they owed 200. So we got really good at negotiating short sales and basically wholesaling pre-foreclosures. And that was my start to my journey. And I loved it because it taught me to be very resourceful, very transactional. I didn't have a lot of extra money, so I had to be really crafty in my business to make sure we were making money.
Yeah, for sure. And so along that journey, as you're building your business, did you ever have some ideas that you thought for sure would work out, but ended up not turning out how you thought?
Oh, yeah, only like 527. Yeah, man. Seth, man, as an entrepreneur, I've only been an entrepreneur my whole life. My father was an entrepreneur. He owned an employee benefits company. So I caught the entrepreneurial bug when I was in high school. I went to high school, went to college, graduated, but I followed my dad. And so as an entrepreneur, I've tried every day. It feels like I'm trying something new, or our team is coming up with something new. And I look at entrepreneurship, Seth, as a playground. And, when you're a little kid, I have 3 little kids. When they were really small, when they were 3 and 2 and 4 years old, when they were just learning to walk, they're on the playground. The playground is supposed to be fun, right? Business is supposed to be fun. But the playground, if you went too fast on a swing, you could fall off. Or you went too fast on the tilt-a-whirl thing or the slide, you fall off and you get hurt on the playground.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurship and real estate is very much the same. If you're going to play in that niche, if you're going to play in that sandbox, if you will, I expect 80% of the things that I do to fail. I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years now, and I fully think 20% of the things we try, from marketing, direct mail, pay-per-click advertising, podcasting, raising capital, you name it, every time I come up with an idea, I'm thinking, what is the chance of this failing? And almost always the chance of it failing is really high. So we try to be very strategic about what we try to do to make sure our success rates are higher and higher, as more seasoned as we get. But even after 21 years, man, most of the stuff we try it fails. It doesn't work as planned. So you've got to learn to track your metrics, learn from your mistakes, and optimize for the long term. Entrepreneurs, I think, fall into this sort of, wheel, if you will, this perpetual wheel of, well, I'm going to try this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try that. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try that. Stop doing that. Try something that you think is going to work. And when it doesn't work, tell yourself, you know what? I'm not surprised that failed, but what can we do to just make that a little bit better this week? What can we do to make that a little bit better this month? Instead of scrapping it and starting over, just once you make a decision to jump into something, whether it's real estate, whether it's raising money, rentals, rehabs, raising capital, running a fund, whatever it is, make the decision, take the long-term approach, and optimize on an incremental basis. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. So do you have any routines or rituals that you do on a regular basis to help keep that mindset?
Yeah, Seth, I'm a habit guy. I actually teach a session for entrepreneurs called 9 Traits of Elite Entrepreneurs and High Performers. And I like to think that I'm one of those, right? And so I've got 9 things that I teach different audiences of both real estate entrepreneurs and business owners about successful entrepreneurship. But the first thing that I think about with my habits and routines is that I don't have to be good at 42 different things. I've got to have one or two things that I am awesome at. And then I've got to build my team around me to fill in all the rest of the gaps. Human beings are built with massive, massive failures. And normally, we're really only good at one or two things, like really, really elite at one or two things. So I constantly tell myself, I love to coach and I love to raise money. And everything else, I try to surround myself with A players who can do everything else in the business. I've got to cast the vision. I've got to have a plan. I got to know what the mission is, but I've got to bring in other people to help me with that. And so that's one of the things that sort of a philosophy that I've hung my hat on is I don't have to be good at 42 things. I've got to be good at one or two. When it comes to habits and routines though, Seth, one of the things I learned years ago was I post and prioritize every Sunday night. I use a software program called Basecamp, which a lot of people are familiar with. And all my teams, I have over 40, 45 employees and staff members. They all operate on Basecamp. And every Sunday night I go into Basecamp and I look at everything that's going on in the business. I put my kids to sleep. I look at it every Sunday night. So a hack for me is Sunday nights are key. I want to be a whole half a day ahead of my competition and the rest of the world that's starting their day, their week on Monday morning. I start on Sunday night, clean out my inbox of all the emails, reply to all the emails, go through Basecamp and look at all my priorities. I set the stage for everybody else too on Sunday nights. When they wake up on Monday, number one, I have nothing in my email inbox. I hate email, Seth. I hate it with a passion. So I have no emails in my inbox. But number two, I have all my priorities for the week. I actually use this little simple notebook. It just says work on the front, right? Really advanced stuff, Seth. It says work.
Cutting edge.
But yeah, cutting edge. But I take everything out of Basecamp that's for me to do that's priority. Now, here's the key. Every night, I take 3 of those things in my notebook that are in Basecamp, and I focus on those when I get to the office. I get to the office every day at about 7:30, 7:45. I drop my kids off at school. I go right to the office. It's nice and quiet. Nobody's here yet. And I focus on those 3 things. And I don't do anything, Seth, until those are done. I don't take any phone calls. I don't check my email. I don't take meetings. I just focus on that until those 3 things are done. And usually they're related to coaching or to raising money. The other thing I've done, Seth, the other habit is I've broken my week up because, I try to be outside of my business almost exclusively, not working in it, except when I'm raising money, which I love it. That's why I don't mind being in the business when I'm raising money. But Mondays and Tuesdays are what I call my buffer days. Mondays and Tuesdays is when I take meetings, when I plan, I post, I just kind of get things in order. I meet with all my different department heads. And then the rest of my week, I'm totally free to do whatever the hell I want. I leave my staff alone. I leave my employees alone. I try not to have any meetings. I try not to bother them with phone calls or emails. They know what they need to do. I know what I need to do. We try to stay the frick out of each other's way and let everyone execute for 3 straight days. And then we come back on Monday and we kind of regroup. So there's a couple different routines or hacks, habits that I use to be, a high performer.
Yeah, no, those are definitely some really good tips. And that's allowed you to build up your portfolio and your business. So out of all the real estate deals that you've done, is there one that stands out as a keystone deal that really propelled you forward?
Yeah, Seth, great question. My close friends know this, and people that have been around me for a while know this. I'm a pancreatic cancer survivor, and pancreatic cancer has just an 8% survival rate. So I was diagnosed in 2011. Long story short, my wife was pregnant with our 3rd child. I had a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and my wife was 8 months pregnant when I found this giant lump in my stomach. And when I was going to go in for surgery, my surgery was scheduled for November 21st, 2011, was 3 days before Thanksgiving. So I was going to be essentially in the ICU on Thanksgiving morning, which I was. I knew I was going to be out of work for weeks or potentially months. And 2 weeks before my surgery, I went and I bought 2 properties. And they were rehab deals. And I raised the money for them. We bought those properties. I told my team, look, I'm going to be totally MIA for it could be weeks or months. We put together a plan for the rehab. I let them go to work, and I focused on my surgery and recovery. And about April 2012, my doctor, my surgeon, whose name was Dr. Matthew Walsh from the Cleveland Clinic, gave me a clean bill of health. He said, Josh, you're cancer-free. The surgery worked. You can get back to work now. And about 30 days later, I closed one of those rehab flips and made a $35,000 profit, split that up with my business partner. And then 30 days later, we had that second deal close and pay off, and we got another $35,000, $40,000 profit check. And I had been a wholesaler essentially for 7, 8 years and didn't really have a lot of assets. I had a great income, but not a lot of assets. And then I thought to myself after doing those deals, Seth, I thought, why wouldn't I just do this over and over and over again? Focus on what you love. Focus on getting the capital. I had this background as a financial planner. And so I really love talking to people about money and retirement accounts and IRAs and mutual funds and what was going on in the market. Why don't you just focus on educating people about what's going on in the market and real estate as an investment alternative, and talk to people about turnkey rentals and private lending. And I've been focused on that now really since 2012. And that Keystone deal, that Keystone moment is when I thought to myself, I'm only going to focus now on big rehab flips, owning big rental properties with lots of cash flow. I'm going to focus on, eventually in 2015, 2016, Seth, I had raised so much money from 2012 to 2015, 16, focused on just raising capital. I had so much extra money, I started this private equity fund. And now it's led me to managing all this money, 8-figure fund and $100 million portfolio. And it really started with those 2 deals I did in the middle of my surgery. As wild as it seems, it's all really started from those 2 sort of Keystone deals.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really cool story. So do you think you'd be where you are today if you hadn't have been diagnosed with cancer back then?
No,
Yeah.
Definitely not. And, often it's in our failures, it's in our biggest challenges, it's in our lowest moments when we learn the most, right, Seth? So when I've done a massive, flip deal and made $100,000 or more, which I've done multiple times, or, when I've invested in an apartment building, and gotten a big equity position in an apartment building, or it's usually not in the wins, it's not in the big good deals where I learn anything. It's always when like a rehab deal goes over budget, or over time, over schedule, financing costs are piling up and we're over budget and we're like, God, what do we do wrong here? Which happens still with all my experience. It still happens sometimes. It's in those, low moments. It's in the failures when I learn the most. And that year when I was diagnosed with cancer, my wife had to have an emergency C-section. My son had major challenges when he was born. My father was diagnosed with Parkinson's that year. My uncle was in the hospital, who's very close to me, one of my best friends, my Uncle Ben, was in the hospital for 30 days with a crazy virus that attacked his nervous system. And I'll be honest with you, Seth, in that year, I spent so much time at the freaking Cleveland Clinic with me and my family, but I learned so much about planning, about execution, about, valuing every second that I could be in business, because, there were days and weeks when I could only work 5 or 10 hours, 20 hours a week. I didn't let myself, I didn't have the ability to work 40, 60 hours a week. So I learned to be an elite performer and a high performer in those very low moments out of pure necessity. So to answer your question, yeah, it's often a really challenging moment. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in it for the long game, you're in it for the long term, that's when you're going to learn the most.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how your mental toughness changed too? Because this is really interesting, because you had it sounds like a really crappy year with all that stuff going on. How did you take that in your mind, and instead of getting defeated from it, how did you get tougher from it and really use that to push yourself forward?
Yeah, Seth, it probably was one comment, actually probably 2 comments that I think about all the time. One from my father and one from my good friend, Mike Tucheron. When I was diagnosed, when I was officially diagnosed, I was by myself with my doctor. And the first person I called was my mom, talked to was my mom. My mom relayed that to my father. And my dad left his business and immediately drove up to the hospital I was at. And I'm sitting there talking to my dad in the waiting room, knowing that I was officially diagnosed and had a major challenge in front of me. My dad said, you know what, Josh? You were chosen for this for a reason. God chose you for this. And it's not going to be in your high moments and your low moments. It's going to be, you need to pay attention to the lessons that you're going to learn, this journey that you're going to go through over the next, could be a couple months, couple years. I didn't even know if I'd make it through the surgery. But it's going to be the lessons that you learn that are going to change your life in the second half of your life. My dad said, in the second half of your life, after you get through this, your only job is to figure out why you were challenged with this and then make the most of your life and teach other people, tell other people. So it was in that moment when my dad said, it's going to be about the lessons that you learn. I really took that to heart. And I thought to myself, he's right. There's going to be high moments when I feel better some days. There's going to be other low moments when I don't feel like getting out of bed. When my weight dropped from 235 pounds to 185 pounds in less than 4 weeks, in less than 50 days, when I learned that the surgeon took my stomach and I had to relearn how to eat for 6 months, it took me to relearn how to eat. I could have got really depressed and down about all those things. But my father kept resonating with me, like, what are you learning? What are the lessons that you're learning? How is this going to impact the second half of your life? And then my buddy Mike Tucheron, he came over Sunday night. My surgery was on Monday morning. Came over Sunday night, and we visited for a while. One of my closest friends. He's one of my private lenders now. And then on Monday morning, when I was heading to the Cleveland Clinic for surgery, he texted me, quote from that movie Top Gun. He's like, "You got this. It's just a walk in the park, Kazansky." And so I think about that all the time. That as serious as it was, life, real estate, entrepreneurship, it's only as serious as you make it, right?
Yeah.
Mike had a funny way of telling me, look, this, as serious as this is, it can be as serious or as, not serious. Not that it was fun, but could be as fun. Any situation could be as fun or as exciting, as exhilarating as you want it to be. It's all about the way you react. And so I've applied that now to my business life, my relationships, my relationship with my wife, my kids, and it's really propelled me forward in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, that's some really good lessons there. So how has your life changed since getting involved in real estate? Like how has it shifted from before real estate to now?
Seth, it was so long ago. I think, back when I was a financial planner, I felt trapped. I felt like there was so much compliance. There was so much, if I wanted to send like an email or a letter to my clients, I had to go through this one like crotchety old lady who sat in the corner office, who ran the compliance office. And one of the things I can think about on my life has changed, not only, from a net worth perspective. I could never, be where I'm at today if I was a financial planner. But it's the creativity of it. It's my life has changed because of the relationships that I've built and people I've met like you and other entrepreneurs, both in real estate and in other niches, because of the success real estate has allowed me to have. And the creativity of it, where every deal is a little bit different. The way you market for deals is different. The way you market for capital is different. There's so many different people that run private equity funds like I do, but they're all different. There's so many people that do wholesaling, but they do it different ways, or they do different types of marketing. The creativity of it and the resourcefulness of it is exhilarating. And I don't think my life would be the same if I was still, having to submit all that stuff through the crotchety old lady in the corner with the compliance office, because she was like the anti-creative devil. And so doing real estate now is, for those reasons, my life is completely different than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah, no, for sure. So Josh, where can people find you if they're looking for some more information?
Yeah, great. They can go visit our website, We actually have a physical book, a book that tells my story of fighting cancer. It's called The Flip System, and how I pivoted from being a transactional investor to being really focused on big profit deals and cash flowing assets. It's called The Flip System. It's available through one of our websites. The website is flippinfund.com. We'll put the /Seth, flippinfund.com/Seth. Put it in the show notes here, I guess, Seth. Maybe get that out to the people that watch.
Yeah, we'll make sure the link's down. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll give the book away for free. They just pay, shipping and handling. We'll send it out to them, a couple bucks. And then they can read the story and engage with us there. And then, you can find me on Facebook, and our main website is strategicrealestatecoach.com. So there's a couple different ways to connect with us.
Oh, that's great. So Josh, just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing those stories with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Seth, thanks so much for having me on, man. I look forward to building our relationship, and thanks so much for having me on today. I hope it was helpful, and look forward to growing our relationship. So we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, so, sounds great. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.